Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Funfold Friday. I am running a couple minutes late, and I apologize for that. As some of you know, I'm the student council advisor for our school, and today, of course, we had an event after school, and I have not been home very long, but I'm only a minute late, so I think that's pretty good, considering the kind of day that I've had. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining. Well, I'm really excited to share a brand new stamp set tonight called Textured Notes, and it has 7 images in the stamp set. It has this like woven mat or the top of a basket, some really nice botanical stamps, another woven piece here, and then 3 sentiments. You are seriously the best. Thank you, and a little note of appreciation. So it's a nice stamp set. But the dies, wait until I show you these dies. Oh my goodness. We have these wonderful rectangles, and they do repeat a couple of designs that are on the edges of the dies, but if I hold it close, I hope you can see some of the different patterns that are on each of these, and they just cut this beautiful border around your rectangles that you are trying to cut, and I'm going to show you how well it cuts tonight. Hi, Rosalind. Thanks for joining. I'm sorry you're having storms in Missouri. So I'm just going to set night. And let me show you what we're making for a card. So first I'm going to show it sideways to you. We're making a floating tent fold card. So you can see the piece in here that's floating around. So we're going to be making a bridge for this card, and we're going to be making a mechanism for this piece that floats. It stands up like that. This is what it looks from the front. So I can keep it where it's folded, or it does fold down so it can fit in a regular card. And I am using some items from the Textured Notes bundle and designer series paper to create this card. And so it's a fun card to create. So let's get started. Now I will say this fits in a regular envelope. I found this design on Stamping with Elaine's site. And if you'll notice, when I put these 2 cards together, this was my sample where I was just practicing to make the card. But you'll notice that the card is a little bigger that she gave. And what she was trying to do was give measurements that had an equal amount of designer series paper all the way around, but it doesn't fit in a regular envelope. So I went back and adjusted the measurements so it would fit in a regular envelope. But you're going to see that while these 2 sides are equal, the top and the bottom are equal as well, but they're not equal all the way around. But that doesn't bother me at all. So, and I don't think it will you either. So this is what we need for cardstock. We need a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 piece of crumb cake. So I'm trying to match the different colors in the designer series paper because we're going to be using both sides of this designer series paper. So it goes with beautifully with the crumb cake. And I'm also going to be using pecan pie, which it goes really nice with too. Some basic white, and then the rest is all crumb cake. You will need a piece of basic white cardstock, and you can see the beautiful border that's cut on it. You'll do need a piece of basic white cardstock that is going to cut out one of the dies, and the die measures 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So if you don't have the dies, you could also just cut that as a strip and still do your stamping and still make the card just as it is. You are also going to need a piece of crumb cake that measures 4 inches by 4 1/4. So this is the bridge. This is the little floating mechanism. And this measures 1 1/2 by 2 3/4. We're going to be scoring that too. I took a scrap of the crumb cake cardstock, and I die cut this one of the smaller rectangles. Again, this has a different design on the when you cut it out, so that's kind of cool too. Then I have 2 pieces of designer series paper. Like I said, I'll just flip that over. We're going to be using both sides. Both of them measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I also have a piece of, pecan pie cardstock, and it also measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then finally, I have a piece of basic white that measures 4 by 5 1/4 that we're going to be putting on the back so we have a place to write. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to do some scoring first. So tonight I'm just going to bring out the scoring is pretty easy. So I'm just going to bring out my paper trimmer and use the scoring blade on it. For the floating mechanism, I'm going to turn it on the short side, which is 1 1/2. And I am going to score it at 3/4 of an inch. So if you're using our paper cutter, make sure your cutting blade is out of the way when you go to score it. So that piece is all scored and all ready to go. This piece here, I'm just going to score at 5 1/2, which is where I would score it anyway, to fold the card in half. So we have that. And then this is the piece that I'm going to have to do a lot of scoring on, a little bit more scoring on. So I want it on, I just want to make sure I got it on. And I'm going to start by scoring at 1/2 of an inch. So I'm just going to go to 1/2 actually on the right side of my paper cutter because it's just easy to start here. And then I'm going to also score at 1 1/4 inch. So I'm going to just go out to my 1 1/4 inch and score that. And now I'm going to just turn this around and keep going. My next score is at 2 inches. Then I'm going to go to 2 3/4. And then I am going to score at 3 1/2. And that's our last score mark. Don't forget, whoops, I brought down that blade. Don't forget, I will put in the comments on my Facebook page, and I'll put in the description on my YouTube channel all of these measurements so that you can have it and recreate the card. All right, so let me get my bone folder out. And I'm going to start by just folding this in the middle. And then I'm going to just fold in the other directions so that I end up having a mountain fold, a valley fold, and a mountain fold. So that on this side it's going to be a valley fold and then a mountain fold. So this is how we want it to be. So I folded it that way, but then I'm turning it over. That's how I just remember to do it. So I'm going to leave that right there. So that's for our bridge. For our mechanism, we're just going to fold this right in half. Give it a nice score mark. Put that aside. And for this, we're also going to just fold it in half. Okay, that should be it for my... Okay, so let's do a little stamping, and then we're going to make our card. So I need these 3 pieces, and we'll just put these out of the way. And what I'm going to do on the front, I'm going to use 2 different colors of ink. One of them will surprise you, but it's from the same family. I'm using Pecan Pie, and I'm also going to use Night of Navy. I just wanted to add a little blue into this card. It just changes it up from being monochromatic with just all the crumb cake inks. I'm sorry about the storms, Debbie, but thanks for trying to join us tonight. So I'm just going to ink this up, and in the center of this, I am just going to stamp my image. And it's such a nice image. So it has some bits and pieces that don't stamp. Some are just an outline, some are filled in. So it's just a really beautiful stamp. We're going to leave that alone. That is all done. For here, I'm going to stamp the greeting, a little note of appreciation. I stamped it in pecan pie on this card, but I don't like how it's not really showing up as strongly as I would like. So I am just going to go in with my Night of Navy ink, and I'm going to stamp that right on the label. And I like that because it really shows up, and it's going to match the leaves as well. Now this is going to go on the back of our designer series paper, on the card. So I am going to stamp this piece of foliage also in the blue. That's what I love about stamping. It's up to you the colors that you use. So I have that, and I'm going to stamp so the greeting on the back is just going to say thank you. I love the font too. It's just so pretty. I'll show it to you afterwards. Then I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to add some pecan pie for the next. I'm going to use that little woven stamp, and I'm going to stamp that piece right across the bottom. And so that is what our back panel is going to look like. And it has that little woven piece with the stem right there. All right, so all of our stamping is done. So I'm just going to get those pads out of the way, these stamps out of the way, so we can continue on. All right, so I am going to attach the back piece to the piece of pecan pie. So I'm just putting some Stampin' Seal on it, and this is just 1/8 of an inch difference, so it won't have a huge border. So there we have that. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it on the front of the card. Now, I am going to actually put adhesive around on all 4 sides. And I'm doing that because I'm going to stamp the middle out, and I want this piece to be totally attached to the front of the card. So again, it has just 1/8 of an inch difference. So it's going to go right out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out that die. It is right in pretty close to the middle. There are 7 dies here. This is the 8th. That's the die I'm using, but I can also use, nope, I'm using the 5th one, I'm sorry. I'm using the bigger die because we're going to put the 4th die on. So this is the die that I'm going to be using. And I am going to put this, and I'm going to center it to my best ability right on the center of the card. I have some reusable painter's tape, I guess you could call it. So you can pull it right off afterwards. So I am going to put the tape on 2 of the sides so I can cut this out. I'm just going to hold it up because it looks just a little bit crooked. Not much, but enough that it's going to bother me. Let's see if that's better. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is get out my die cut machine, And I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see on camera because my die cut machine takes up my whole table. So I'm just going to move some of these stamps out of the way so I can open it up. Going to grab my plates. You'll be able to see it come out of the die cut machine. And I am just going to put this towards the top. You can see that I've got some paper hanging out the other end. I don't want to get the die plates or anything on that. And I'm going to put my plate on. I'm going to turn it a little bit just to have it not go on square. And I'm going to run this through the die cut machine. All right, so this is one of the piece of crumb cake that comes out. I just want to show you how pretty that die is. It just looks so nice as it comes out of the die cut machine. And I'm going to take my plates and put those away. I have a little stand under my desk, and I put the plates on the top of the cut machine on the floor, so it's handy. I can pick it right up. So I'm going to take this out, and I have my card all ready. And I'm going to take this piece out of the die. So here's the opening. I'm going to now attach this to that piece. And I'm just going to line it up because they were cut out together. So they should line up perfectly. And then I can just adhere the adhesive. So that's set. I'm going to take my piece right here and grab some dimensionals. So what I think I'll do, I'm just going to take some of these. How does that do? Perfect. So I'm getting down on this piece, and so I try to use every single piece that I can. And so I will just take this side off too. And put this piece down. And then just to have something in the middle, I'll cut 2 edges off. There we go. That's all we need. And this is going to go right on front of the piece that we cut out, which is going to be our floating piece. So I'm just going to center this right on top of it. Make sure I've got approximately the same amount on each side. And there we have our label. All right, let's get our mechanism done. Fit right inside the card like this. To give you an idea. So I'm going to be putting my adhesive on these 2 half-inch edges. So I'm going to put a nice long piece. And I'm going to attach this piece. I think I'm going to start over here. No, I want it to go this way. So yes. So I'm going to make sure this folded edge where the score mark is meets the bottom of the card. So you can see that there's a nice straight edge here. And then I'm going to just close this and close the front of the card so it also meets that inside piece. And you can see now I have my bridge that allows this to stand. Gives you an idea. Now I did forget to put in the other piece of designer series paper, but I can slide that right in, so I'm not really too worried about that. It is better if you put it on before you put the front on, but you can see how it's just going to slide right in. And you're not going to see much of this piece. You will if you look at it from the side, but you can see that you can just slide it right in because it fits so nicely. Now for this mechanism here, we are going to add some adhesive to both sides. So I'm just going to open this up so I can get the other side of adhesive on. There we go. And I am going to want this piece here to go right up into the fold of the card. So I am going to take this side and I'm going to line it right up with the top edge of our tag. So now I have this piece, so it's going to look like this from behind, have that flap up, because I want this to fit right back in to the space that I cut it from, and I'm just going to adhere that top piece. So when I open it, I now have that floating piece in here that just kind of moves back and forth. I don't know if you can see it moving, but it just hangs like this in the card. So it's hard to see. You'll see it when I post the pictures later on my Facebook page. Okay, so now to finish the card up, I'm going to take some dimensionals. Just going to need 3 to put on the back of my label. I'm putting them towards the bottom because this piece here is bigger than that edge. So I'm going to just stick this on, line it up with the bottom again. The top piece is going to come up a little bit, and that's okay. I just want to make sure I've got this centered. And there we have our greeting. On the back of the card, before I start adding bling, I'm going to take the piece that we stamped earlier, that I stamped earlier, and I'm going to just center this onto the back. I really like the color combination I'm using now than in my first card. This was the back of my first card, and it just was too monochromatic for me. So that's the back. I'm going to take some of our white woven ribbon. This is so, I just love it. You can color it, you can do so much with it. And I'm just going to put this right in between the step, and I'm just going to tie a knot. I'm not even going to tie a bow or anything. And I'm just going to tie it, then knot it. It would have been easier if I cut a big, let me just get the bigger piece around and get it through. There we go. There we are. Just going to cut a little bit of it off. Okay, and now we just have to add some bling to it. And we have these wonderful natural matte dots. We have them in black, we have them in white, we have them in some beige and some pecan pie. I use the pecan pie on here, but I have to say the black ones look pretty close to that navy, but I'm going to stick with the pecan pie. So let me just grab my tool, and I am going to, so this is just my take a pick tool, and I am going to take one large one of the pecan pie and put it down here. Then I will take two of the smaller ones and put up here. And then I'm going to put two on our label as well. And there, my friends, is our floating tent fold card. So standing up is going to look like that. That is what it looks like with the side. You can see the piece right here that is moving in the back with that mechanism. You can see the bridge here as well. And then the front looks like this with it opened, and when it's closed, it folds up like that. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. On Sunday night, we will be starting a new month of Simply Stamping Sunday, and I'm going to use this set. So this is kind of like a little preview using some bling and ribbon and a fun fold and some dies, but on Sunday night we're going to simple everything up and be using this to make some great cards, and I hope you join me Sunday night, whether you're joining me on the live, the replay, or on my YouTube channel. And I'll see you Sunday night at 7 for Simply Stamping Sunday, and of course I'll be back next Friday night for another edition of Fun Fold Friday. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.